Okay, good afternoon. I'm introducing our first guest, Kathy Kay, and she's part of what we're planning to do on this podcast, which is to bring hope to people. Um, all of us are dealing with life challenges, whether it's grief or illnesses or just various things like that. And Kathy is a life coach. She's got her degree in spiritual psychology from the University of Santa Monica. She has her certification in soul centered coaching at the University of Santa Monica. And she talks about life challenges and how she moved into a different direction in her life. And she applies that to working with her different clients in a positive way. And so I'm very happy to have her as our first guest. So, Kathy Kay, take it away. What would you like to tell us today?
Thanks, Cecilia. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so honored to be your very first guest. I've really been looking forward to this.
Thank you.
I think what I want to say first after that introduction is, yes, I've studied things. Yes, I have degrees, but boy, isn't life a classroom for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons I became a life coach is no matter what people are dealing with, life just seems to give us challenges
Yes.
and lots of opportunities to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that what I share today is helpful for your audience.
So you're supplying us what I call tools for my toolbox of different ways to handle challenges in your life. Yeah.
Yeah. Where would you like me to begin? I had a quote I thought I could start with.
Okay.
This has kind of become the foundation of my way of thinking and also the way that I work with my clients. And I've always thought that this quote came from Rumi. I recently heard maybe it's from A Course in Miracles, but one of those two wonderful sources. And the quote says, "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." And I like it for a few reasons. I think it's good news. I think it gives us a place to start looking, like inside, knowing that everybody's up against this, that we all have conditioning that we have built up over our lifetimes. And we, because it's us, have some agency in beginning to peel away those layers of the onion, as opposed to trying to change outer circumstances or change other people, which is tempting to do, but not always very productive or successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the other reason that I love this quote is because it really points to the fact that love or authenticity or joy, peace, compassion are all inside of us. They are there. And the reason that we may not be experiencing them is because of these other layers that have that we've picked up along the way.
We get so into self-judging and self-hate and just we get in that and we forget to love ourselves, which frees us up to love others, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's absolutely 100% it.
Mm-hmm.
You just said everything that I wanted to say. I think, and he makes it sound, Rumi or whoever says this, makes it sound so simple. And I can remember having some frustration at times with this. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely, as if it's a simple thing, to seek and find those barriers you have placed against it. I don't think when we get there, yes, it can be a merely, but I think it's the task of a lifetime. I think it just takes so much time. So that'll be the foundation of what I want to talk about today and look at that a couple different ways and maybe give a few different tools along those lines. Does that sound good?
That sounds excellent.
Okay.
I like that.
So let me say something about the conditioned self versus the authentic self. Our authentic self is that part that's inside, it's intact, it's who we are, it's love, joy, peace, compassion, wisdom. Because we are, however you want to say it, like we're spiritual beings, and that's our nature. I think the other side of it, though, is that we all have a uniqueness about us. We have our own signature inside. And I think that that's an interesting thing and an important thing also to nurture. So the conditioned self comes along little by little as we're growing up, where we get attention for one thing, but not necessarily another. We get in trouble for one thing, and we make a decision that we're not going to do that anymore. So this man says he studies trauma in children, and he says if we're ever faced as children with the choice between connection and authenticity, we will always choose connection, which is how that conditioned self begins to take hold. I got in trouble for being too active as a child. I kind of tamed that down, but that is such a big part of my essential nature, for example. Some people, excuse me, some people might be very scholarly oriented, but they get attention for doing something else in their lives, and they don't necessarily nurture that part of themselves that's actually right there. So yeah, there's all kinds of ways that we become conditioned, and that peeling the onion becomes ways that we just start peeling little pieces of that back. And it's not like we're putting more authenticity in, it's just that we're getting closer and closer to it. Um, I think you mentioned this, Cecilia, just a minute ago. I think that we have such an opportunity to be so much kinder to ourselves than we are right now. This to me this is where I'm spending a lot of time peeling the onion of my own authenticity. And one of the ways that I do it, and oh my gosh, it's so sneaky. Just this morning, I heard the very first thing that I heard this morning was, you need to stop eating sugar at night. You need to just sit with that impulse and not eat sugar. So, first of all, there's this voice that is coming at me, a you. And I just softened in that moment. I thought, actually, it's so much kinder just to say, I want to stop eating sugar. I want to sit with the craving. And that way, the win isn't necessarily just not eating sugar, but the win is remembering that I have a choice to be kinder with myself, and I don't have to be so harsh with myself.
Well, and one of the things you taught me over time was I often would say I should do such and such, but it's a better choice to say I choose to do something. So there's less judgment and less beating ourselves up, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And unpack that just a little bit more. Should is such a clear indication of conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that if we slow that down, we can say, well, is this in alignment with me? Why do I think I should do this? Is this what somebody else wants for me?
Mm-hmm.
Or is this in alignment with what I really want for myself and something that's going to help me grow
Mm-hmm.
and express myself? And then, like you said, I choose it or I want to, if that's even true. My favorite definition of the word compassion is to be with suffering. And it doesn't say to fix it, to change it, to ignore it, to suppress it, to put whipped cream on top of it. It's just to be with it. I think if we've had the experience of somebody who can sit with us in that space and just hold us energetically, we feel so much better. So when it comes back to ourselves and what we can do to get closer to our love and our joy and our authenticity, I think that first layer that we take off, and Cecilia, you just spoke to this earlier, is that judging, beating ourselves up.
Right.
being hard on ourselves, wanting it to be different, being angry that I'm having the feeling that I'm having. And it is said that if we can actually sit with that, and that I think is the be with the suffering, if we can sit with and allow that emotion to be present, it will pass through in 90 seconds. If we
I
don't
think,
judge it, if we don't,
and so much of what
what's this?
well, some of us, the way we're raised is we're always supposed to be happy and calm and good, and we don't allow our deep emotions like anger, for example, or grief
Yeah.
to express, and we haven't learned that particular. I know in my case, I haven't learned that particular tool very well, and it depends on how you're raised, how you are able to get in touch and sit with that emotion, isn't it? Do you have different ways
I
that
think
you
the
can?
practice.
Can you give us different ways that we can sit with our different emotions? Maybe give us some examples.
Oh, that's a good question. Let me think that through. Let's see what comes through.
Okay.
I think I think we can recognize, tell me if this makes sense. I think we can all recognize when we don't feel good.
Hmm.
That I think is when we start the compassion, just to be with ourselves, just to say, okay, I'm going to take a beat here and I'm going to tune in. And I also don't think that we are taught or encouraged to feel our emotions or our feelings. I think we can start by asking ourselves, what do I feel? And just letting ourselves be honest. I wanted to say this too. My teachers would say resistance and judgment
Hmm.
are super glue for our issues. Meaning, the more I resist that feeling or judge that feeling, it's going to stay there. And it's going to stay in the body and it's going to be under the surface and it's going to come out sideways. So I think number one, how am I actually feeling right now? And just naming that. I also have started this practice of just kind of talking to myself kindly. Um, this took some time to get there,
Hmm.
but oh, sweetie, yeah, it makes sense that you're feeling sad right now. Of course you are. Giving it a little bit of space, giving it a little bit of space. And then the other part, I think that's one thing is naming the feeling emotion. The other part is where is that in my body?
Hmm.
Let's say that we're dealing with anger at this point.
Hmm.
To say, okay, where is it? Maybe it's like heat in my head. Maybe it's a clenched jaw. Maybe I'm holding something tightly in my throat and I don't want to speak, or, I'm just tense or something. Okay, just notice that. And this takes practice. Drop this story about why I'm mad and just be with that sensation. Okay, I'm noticing this heat in my head. My jaw is clenched. And as I sit with it, often it's going to shift. Oh, I notice now that it's down in my throat. Okay, I'm just watching that. Give that 90 seconds, and often it will move. It doesn't mean it can't come back. It depends how deeply it's rooted in the body. But that's the practice of undoing those emotions.
Well, and
Do
I
you want to
think
say anything
maybe
about that,
that's one
Cecilia?
of
Does
the
that make
reasons
sense?
so much of our trauma gets to be so big over the years. If we've been through terrible trauma, we haven't learned how to release it. We don't know how to release it
Yeah.
sometimes. For sure, that's probably the case. And maybe our environment doesn't allow us to release it. Maybe you're a child and you're not given permission, so to speak, by your parents to release it or own it or admit it or, you know, yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
Because what happens when we say that, often when we're growing up, I think parents are more educated in this right now
Hmm.
and doing differently with their kids. But for sure, when I was growing up, it was like, don't be upset, don't cry. It's, we were conditioned to want to change that. I
Hmm.
don't want you to feel sad. And often the parent is uncomfortable
Hmm.
and they don't know how to just say, oh, honey, come here.
Hmm.
Let me hold you for a second. That's what we want to do with ourselves. And also, if we're dealing with some really deep trauma, there's also wisdom in, depending on how deep that is, it may not be the smartest thing to start there. And it may not be the smartest thing to try to do it alone.
Hmm.
Definitely, if it's something really, really hard to face, get some support in this.
Yes. There's some really good therapists out there and good coaches like you that
A
can
lot
help.
of people are getting trained in this. I feel like there's a lot coming online these
Oh,
days,
that's good to hear.
about different ways to be with this. And the biggest thing that I'm seeing is this practice of letting ourselves and letting that feeling inhabit the body and move through.
Hmm. Well, and it used to be the stigma of therapy was you don't get therapy, psychological help, unless you're really crazy, and now it's become almost, if you don't have therapy, it's almost abnormal. I mean, it's so accepted, and I think it's a great thing to get coaching or therapy to help you through those tough times and learn how to feel your feelings and express your feelings and love yourself, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that I love that phrase, to love yourself,
Hmm.
to be in loving with yourself. And when we can show up and hold for ourselves in that way, I think that that is just such a beautiful practice of loving ourselves.
And the thing is, with loving yourself, you get your mind off thinking about yourself because you're freed up
Uh-huh.
to care more about other people, to have more compassion for other people.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
100%. I think of it like the part of myself that's upset, let's say that it's sad or grieving. I just went through something and I've been grieving it and it's taken some time. Every time that I can show up, another part of me can show up, if that makes sense, to say, like, oh, well, of course you're sad. That was a really important relationship that ended.
Hmm. Hmm.
It lifts at least that part of me into compassion. It lifts that part of me into love.
Hmm.
And I think that starts to balance things out. It puts us into loving. And like you said, once we've accessed that, we have that then to give to other people.
Hmm. It's a journey, isn't it? A lifetime journey.
I do think it's a lifetime
Hmm.
journey. And I think that there are ebbs and flows of it, for me at least. There are times when I don't know if you've experienced this or if your listeners have experienced this. I think there are times when we do like really intense work and we kind of make it through the challenges of a relationship and feel like, oh my gosh, I did it. I'm on the other side. I'm feeling so good. I feel so high. Like I'm never going to forget that. I remember all these lessons. Now I know how to access my loving. And we can then coast along for a while and be really happy.
Hmm.
However, what can also happen is that something else will trigger us, or there's a deeper cut of it, or something like that. And it doesn't mean that we didn't understand it or get it the first time, just that maybe there's more to it.
Right. I found that to be true too. You get the same lesson again until you kind of learn the whole thing. You think you've gotten it,
Yeah.
but then it's like, oh, you get hit in the face with the same thing again. It's like, I thought I already did this, you know? Hmm.
And when I was first doing that, I felt like I was way back at the beginning. But the visual that I really like is to think of like a spiral that goes up. Um, and I started with my issue way down here. And as I go around this spiral and I keep going up, it might look like the same issue, but I forget that I'm so much in such a different place than I was before,
Hmm.
but it looks similar. Again, there's the practice. If we can be with ourselves, be kinder with ourselves instead of, and I will catch myself like, oh my gosh, I should have gotten this the first time. It could be, okay, this isn't because it's me, it's because I'm human.
Hmm.
This is just kind of the way that it sometimes goes. Let me take some space with this. Let me call a friend. I don't want people who are listening to feel like they need to go it alone. Yes, I think there's an opportunity that we have to be kinder to ourselves, but I also think that there's the things that we can do to reach out for help. Oh, my internet is unstable.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear you fine.
It's
Just
just the picture's
visuals.
not, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that there's a lot of things that we can do for our that we don't have to do alone. So some of the things that I would say, I love this podcast that Cecilia is putting out there with the intention of spreading love. And I want to say this has been helpful for me, and I think it could be for others. Find something that you feel uplifted by and start following that. I love the idea of making it into a ritual. My morning ritual includes getting a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. It's something that I look forward to that gets me out of bed in the morning. One of the things I'm reading right now is called Pivot Year, 365 Days to Become the Person You Truly Want to Be by Brianna Wiest.
Can you spell that?
I recommend it, but it doesn't have to be this one.
Can you spell
Wiest.
Okay, thank you.
Wiest.
Got it.
Briann. I'm just going to open it up. There's short little things, and it's just enough to kind of like what you're sharing online too, Cecilia, just enough to lift the spirit and turn my focus in a different direction. Mm-hmm. On day 107, she says, resilience isn't always toughness. Sometimes it's the softness to simply let things move through. Sometimes it's the willingness to not act on emotions you would not want more fully expressed, but just to feel them and let them go. And it's just a sweet reminder to me that there's another way of looking at things. I like her because I find sometimes she's direct, like, look at this. And often there's so much compassion and spaciousness in her words. And for me, that I'm finding that helpful right now. The other thing that I'm currently looking at are these Super Attractor cards by Gabrielle Bernstein. And the one I picked this morning, my greatest spiritual shifts don't come through force, they come through freedom. Again, it's just a way, it's something to look forward to, something to start my day on a positive note. Listening to Cecilia's podcasts, find that teacher, find that person that resonates with you, that you feel good listening to. I kind of think of it like befriending them. You know, I want to wake up and have my coffee with them in the morning and let their words sink in. So again, I don't think that we need to do it all ourselves. Do you want to add anything to that, Cecilia?
Well, yeah, I'm like you. Sometimes I like to meditate or pray with background music, and other times I just like silence. I will mention too, while I'm thinking about it, in the description below for our listeners, there's going to be a list of the books that you just mentioned, so that they can look them up if they're interested in purchasing them. Also, is going to be Kathy's contact information in case you want to make connection with her.
Okay, anyway. Thank you. Along the lines of finding somebody that helps you feel better, that you can tap into their wisdom, I would also say be with people who see you. Be with people who see you and who accept you.
And what do you mean by see you?
Remember, we're trying to let go of our conditioning. So if you have a friend that's holding you in an expectation of something that no longer feels right for you, consider having a conversation about that. Or if it's really bad, if it's a toxic relationship, consider letting that go. But instead, be with somebody who sees where you're wanting to go, who can
support you,
encourage you, isn't criticizing you, isn't afraid of your change, but encourages all of that. I think that can be such a powerful, uplifting tool on this journey. It feels good to be with other people who like us and who accept us for who we really are.
You don't have to feel guarded when you're having conversations because you're on the same wavelength, so to speak.
Right. So the conversations become more rewarding.
Yeah. And more real, and you're not so busy doing small talk because you're trying to be polite, but you can really connect with each other and feel supported, but also maybe learn some things from the other person that's supportive,
That's it. Absolutely. And finding those people and telling them that the relationship means something to you, I think, and then nurturing it, that's really, really, really a great tool. Mm-hmm. And I think also stop turning to the people who can't show up for you that way. We may have family members that we don't want to cut out of our lives, but it's kind of insanity to keep going to them and expecting them to be different.
Yes.
Especially when this newfound sense of self is tender.
Yes.
And can easily be, suppressed again or fall back into old patterns. It's not necessarily the best place to go back to old family. There's a poet, David White, I think he said that our kids know all of our buttons because they installed them.
Oh, that's good. Oh, I like that.
I do too. Another thing I wanted to say, and these are so simple, they're so obvious, but remember the merely in the quote that I started with. I think sometimes these things are simple. And I also think don't try to do all of them at one time, but find one or two that work and let them guide you and take you along this journey. But one I wanted to say is Joseph Campbell says, follow your bliss. I don't know exactly what bliss is, but let yourself do those things that uplift you. If it's music, listen to music. If it's spiritual reading, listen to spiritual reading. Let yourself take out a paintbrush and be bad at it. But if it brings you joy, do that. I just got back from the Camino where I walked 200 miles. I gave myself permission just to go for a long walk. And every day getting up and walking 12 miles a day. That's what nurtures me.
Yes.
And now trying back home to keep that practice up because it just so good to clear my mind and to be in nature.
So many good suggestions you have.
Thank you.
Yeah, and speaking of bliss, putting this podcast together with my friend Jessie um, brings me a lot of bliss because we're positive about bringing hope to people and tools that will help them get through different struggles. And we all know we're living in a chaotic world right now, and we all have different challenges. Like I said earlier, that whether it's health or difficult people in our life or family members that wrote us off or whatever it could be. Yeah, it's good to have new tools.
Absolutely. And I love that you named that doing things with another person, having somebody else on your team. It's so important. I think so many people are trying to do some of this solo. And I think it's time. I love what you're doing because I think that it's time that we cooperate on this journey more, that we come together and we take this journey together. And your podcast is a great way for us to do that.
Well, and okay. Oh, Jesse's giving me clues. So funny. I told my sister the other day, I said, if I hadn't had Jesse here, I know I wouldn't have followed through on this because I would have just been overwhelmed with the technical stuff. And plus, it's very difficult to take on a new hobby, passion, whatever that you haven't done before. So all your doubts and insecurities come up, and what it does is it makes you stop, you know. But I picked hope as my theme for the podcast because that's the message we're trying to get out to people. We want to bring hope that there is a positive outcome, that you can get through this struggle, that it's a journey, and it can come out the other way. You can come out the other end in a positive way. You can.
I believe you. I've seen so many people in my coaching come out on the other side in a positive way. I have been there too. I've had periods of my life where I have felt so depressed. And in that space, it doesn't feel like there's another side. It feels like this is my destiny, that this is a permanent condition, which is why I really like that quote that I began with, which points us to there is something deeper inside. And it's not easy work, but I think, like you just said, if you can be doing some of it with another person, you're getting support, you're laughing. I mean, I've worked with you and Jesse just a little bit together. The two of you make each other laugh, and it's fun, and you're learning, which I know you love. So yeah, let's do. I hadn't planned on saying that, but I think that it's so important, especially in this day and age where there's so much polarization and
Yes,
separateness.
and
I think it's really
isolation.
important.
Hmm.
I think it's really important to connect and help each other on the path.
I think that's a really good point because isolation can really breed depression and
Yeah,
just give up. Where if you
yeah,
have a team, or at least one person that's really there for you on whatever you're struggling with, like you were saying
yeah,
earlier about friends or past friends or acquaintances, and seeing what's my journey now. So I have different acquaintances or friends that support me now that maybe don't understand. Past people wouldn't have understood what we're going through or know how to support it, and that's not bad to let the people go, but it's just a different. It's part of the journey, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And who knows, we may inspire them along the way.
Yes.
They may then look at us and say, wow, you look so much better. You look so much happier. What have you done? And they might then be open to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So just giving people the space to go through their own process with change and
I
everything.
love that. Yeah. Given space. Hmm. Well, great. Just to remind our audience, again, in the description, you're going to be able to contact Kathy if you're interested in connecting with her on maybe coaching. And the books and cards and things that she recommended, we'll have a list of that for all of you. Is there anything else you'd like to touch on today, Kathy?
I do. There's
Mm-hmm.
one more thing I was going to
Sure.
mention. A movie that I really love that you can get online for free. It's actually a documentary. Is called Finding Joe. And I like this because it talks about the mythologist Joseph Campbell, who talks about the hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's helpful for people to understand this journey that we're all on, where something comes into our life and upsets it, and there's a disequilibrium. We can't go on as we were before. We cross a threshold, we go through a road of trials, we face our biggest fear or our dragon, we come out the other side, there's a revelation. There's this whole circle, this whole hero's journey map. And they really talk about it and break it down in a fun way in that movie, Finding Joe. I think just knowing the context of what we're all kind of doing here can be helpful as we go through this too. And again, it's not because it's you, it's because you're human. It's not
Mm-hmm.
because it's me, it's because I'm human
Mm-hmm.
that I keep going through this journey over and over and over
Mm-hmm.
again.
Mm-hmm.
We're spiritual beings having a human experience.
I love
And I
that.
think we're on
Yes.
that pathway back to
Yeah.
finding our spiritual nature.
Yes. That's beautiful.
Thanks, Cecilia,
Well,
for
thank
doing
you.
your part
You're
to
so
bring us back
welcome.
there.
Thank you for being our first guest. We're very excited. So we'll talk to you another time, probably.
Thank you, Cecilia.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.